The air inside cell block Theta stank of recycled sweat and burnt ozone. The lights flickered, faintly green, like they'd been strained through algae. Elara Miles sat on her bunk with her back against the cold wall, one leg stretched, the other bent, arms wrapped tight across her chest like they were the only thing holding her together. Duraxis 9 didn't allow mirrors. You weren't supposed to see what this place turned you into. The lock hissed. 2 guards entered in full exo-armor, Tarkari, tall and jointed like mantis sculptures. They carried something between them, shackled and restrained under thick plasma thread bindings. Elara didn't blink. It moved. She couldn't quite make out the shape, only that it was wrong, too many limbs, breathing like it had gills, bones that clicked as if they shifted inside out every few seconds. And it made no sound, not even a growl. The guards were visibly shaking. Unit 119A, barked the lead Tarkari, his voice filtered through translator static. Warden's orders. Shared confinement. Do not engage. Elara raised an eyebrow. No room service? No answer. They dropped the creature in the far corner like a bag of infected meat and bolted. The cell sealed with a shriek. Elara sat still, gaze locked. The thing didn't move. Only the faintest tremor through the floor, its breathing, maybe. She gave it 20 silent minutes. Then stood and paced, slow, calculating. The ex-marine in her kicked in, distance, exit points, movement patterns. But there was no exit. Duraxis 9 didn't do escape. She spoke first. If you're going to eat me, try the left leg. The right's full of metal. No response. The creature didn't even lift its head. Then the wall hummed. A low vibration, not mechanical, empathic. The kind that bypasses ears and hits directly in the spine. Elara turned. The creature was singing. Not aloud. Inside her head. Like a broken music box trying to mimic grief. She froze. Back in the war, they called it soul static, the moment before the enemy made themselves known. Her instincts screamed to kill it, but something in her gut, older than training, deeper than fear, said don't. Are you, she hesitated, trying to talk? A flicker of movement. Its limbs recoiled, folding into itself. A defense? Shame? Elara stepped closer. Slowly. Not from around here, huh? The creature's head lifted. It had no eyes, only a skull plate like obsidian, veined with pulsing blue cracks. But somehow, she felt it seeing her. A surge of alien emotion slammed into her chest, cold, raw, childlike confusion. Pain. Loneliness so loud she staggered. What the hell did they do to you, she whispered. That night, she didn't sleep. The lights dimmed. She curled on her bunk, watching it through half-lidded eyes. It never moved toward her. Only once did it stir, when a patrol marched by. Then it flattened into the shadows like mist, vanishing into dimensions that had no business being in a prison cell. At 3:12, the alarms blared. A riot. Level 4 lockdown. Elara shot up. Screams echoed through the block, alien languages laced with fury. Shouts of "kill the Terran" were common these days. She was the only human in Theta. That made her a target. But not tonight. Tonight, they weren't coming for her. They were coming for it. 7 inmates charged the cell door, override code stolen, weapons improvised, plasma shivs, magnetic gauntlets. The door yawned open. Elara didn't have time to run. She grabbed her broken bedpost and stood between them and the thing. Back off, she shouted. Too late. The creature moved. In one blink, 2 of the attackers were screaming. Not dying, unraveling. Their bones stretched, ligaments turning to liquid. Their bodies collapsed inward like crushed shells. No sound came from the predator. Only the same sad hum. Another rushed Elara. She ducked, cracked his knee sideways with the post, rolled to the wall, gasping. The remaining 3 paused. One made eye contact with the creature and dropped his weapon. He started crying. The other two lunged. Missed. Motion. Silence. When the strobe lights came back, only Alara and the creature remained. Blood pooled around her boots. She turned. You didn't kill me. The thing stood in front of her, taller now. It looked less like a monster and more like an impossible animal sculpted from grief. I don't know why I'm not terrified of you, she muttered. Then came the first word, not spoken, but transmitted like a whisper into her skull. You mourn too. She stared. Its voice was delicate, not monstrous. It held no threat. Only recognition. Hours later, the warden's voice crackled through the comm. Miles. Report to Interrogation Hall 6. She expected cuffs, escort teams, shock batons. Instead, the doors opened automatically. The corridors were empty. Surveillance drones watched but didn't interfere. Warden Zarn Viral stood in the darkened chamber, illuminated by a single beam of yellow light. His Tarkari limbs clicked as he leaned forward, spindly and sharp. You've survived what no one has. Impressive. Alara said nothing. Viral tilted his head. It bonded with you. Specimen KX-9 does not bond. It consumes. Or manipulates. Maybe it just doesn't like fascists. Viral hissed. I want to know what it's telling you. She crossed her arms. I don't speak monster. But it speaks to you, he said flatly. That's enough. He turned, motioned to a hollow screen. Footage played, her in the cell. KX-9 beside her. No violence. No fear. Only familiarity. Is it controlling you? He asked. No. Then what is it doing? She looked him dead in the eyes. It's listening. Back in her cell, Alara sat with her back to the creature, letting the silence stretch. The wall hummed again. You are not like them, it said. She exhaled. They say you're the galaxy's deadliest predator. And they built me to be. Alara's pulse slowed. That one sentence changed everything. She turned. You want out? KX-9 tilted its head. Not yes. Not no. You sing different, it said. She reached beneath her bunk, pried loose a jagged metal collar, half circuitry, half torture device. She'd swiped it from the riot. She held it up. Then help me break the chain. The tunnels beneath Duraxis 9 were older than the prison itself, remnants of a failed mining colony, buried and forgotten. The Union had sealed them off decades ago, but Alara Miles knew better than most that every cage had a crack. She moved in silence, her ribs aching from the last riot, one hand on the slick, damp wall. Behind her, KX-9 flowed rather than walked, its movement a fluid distortion of physics and anatomy. It kept its distance, never brushing her, yet always within arm's reach. A shadow that chose to stay tethered. They'd spent 4 days moving beneath the riot zones, living off condensation and protein gum scraped from storage ducts. The guards were too busy rebuilding order to notice two ghosts sliding through the dark. Alara didn't trust the silence. She never had. What do you see in me? She asked suddenly, breaking the stillness. KX-9's response arrived like a low chord struck on an alien instrument. You bleed, but do not break. She scoffed. That's called being stubborn. Not special. Same sound. Different name. She didn't reply. The path narrowed, water trickling at her boots. The smell of coolant and metal rot filled her nose. They were getting close. The target was a subvault beneath the main AI core, an access node used for deep system maintenance. Alara had seen it once during training back on Earth. Then again in the blueprints she'd memorized when she first arrived at Duraxis. If she could breach it, she'd have access to Warden logs, security protocols, maybe even the original experimentation files on KX-9. Proof that this wasn't just some wild creature, but something the Union created and buried. "I'll need 5 minutes," she whispered, kneeling before the interface port. The panel was alien standard, encrypted with biometric weave. Elara unstrapped a toolkit from her belt, fingers steady. She burned through the surface layers with a laser pick, bypassed the security mesh, and dropped a custom spike into the data slot. The screen flickered. KX-9 remained still, its body melting into the shadows. Suddenly, a soft vibration rippled through the floor. She froze. "KX," she whispered. Its head turned sharply. Limbs unfolded, tense. "Coming." The wall behind them hissed. Guards. Not security drones. Not inmates. Union Black Ops. 6 of them, silent, fully armored, rifles drawn. The kind they didn't use on prisoners. These were cleaners. Elara didn't think. "Cover me." The air changed. KX-9 rose, not lunging, not roaring. It moved with terrifying elegance. The first 2 soldiers vanished, imploded inward, armor crushed into glass shards. The next tried to run but hit the wall face first, screaming as his gun fused to his arms. Elara kept her head down, fingers dancing across the interface. "Screw their firewalls. Come on, come on." KX-9 didn't kill everyone. It stopped the last one. Held him in the air like a toy. The soldier choked. Elara glanced up. His eyes rolled back, then forward again, suddenly, blank. KX-9 was reading him. It dropped him, limp but breathing. "Don't ever do that to me," Elara muttered, jamming the spike deeper. The terminal clicked. Access granted. The logs were worse than she expected. Not just experimental files, classified trials on over 20 species. Failed hybrids. Dimensional tears. Neural weaponization. Then she saw it. KX-9 Subject Report, Project Bonesinger. Emotion-reactive predator. Engineered for selective resonance attack. Primary trigger, grief signature. Secondary, protective instinct override. Elara's hands tightened on the console. Her voice was low. "They built you to kill anything that loved." KX-9 said nothing. But it was trembling. "They trained you with orphans," she continued. "With pets. They starved you, then showed you kindness, then pain." She turned. KX-9 crouched low, arms curled in. It made no sound, but she felt the wave of mourning pulse outward. Like a child weeping into the floor. She sat beside it. "You didn't ask for this." The hum that came was quieter. Not quite words. Just 2 tones woven together, hers and its, echoing in sync. They moved to the ventilation hub, an abandoned section that still had partial access to the atmospheric relays. Elara's side throbbed. She pressed a stim patch to her ribs, teeth gritted. KX-9 watched, head tilted. "You could have killed me back there," she said. "You are not enemy. I was once a soldier. I killed people like you. Things like you. And you mourn." She exhaled. "I mourn everything." Silence stretched. Then KX-9 moved closer. It extended a limb, not a hand, but something shaped like comfort. Not touching her. Just near. Elara stared at it. Then laid her hand beside it. The next step was escape. Only one viable route existed, the geothermal shaft that powered the prison's outer defense grid. If they could fry the sensors and disable the targeting AI for 10 seconds, the old freight lifts would restart. And from there, the shuttle bay. But they'd need access to a manual switch. One hidden in the incinerator block, a place Elara never wanted to revisit. Too late now. She handed KX-9 a data chip with the security virus. "Once I get in, I'll need 30 seconds. Then run. Will you come?" She smirked. "I'm not letting you fly my getaway ship alone." The plan went sideways the moment they reached the incinerator tunnels. Guards were already there. Waiting. Dozens. Not for her. For it. They had neural dampeners, grav snares, and a command drone circling above, its voice high and hollow. Stand down. This asset belongs to the Union. The human will be spared if she complies. KX-9 growled, low and ancient. Alara glanced sideways. You ready? With you. She darted forward, drawing a stolen stunner, zigzagging under fire. KX-9 exploded upward, gravity ignored, limbs splayed, reality twisting in a cone of pressure. The guards screamed. Helmets cracked. Alara reached the switch. Flipped it. Electricity surged. The floor trembled. The defense grid sparked, flickered, and died. KX. Go! But she collapsed, blood seeping from her flank. Shrapnel. KX-9 didn't run. It scooped her up with unnatural gentleness, tucking her into its arms like a wounded cub. And then, they vanished. Not walked. Vanished. Through walls, through air, through dimensions. They reappeared in a dormant cargo bay, deep in the prison's underbelly. Dust choked the air. No lights. No sensors. Alara gasped. She was alive. KX-9 hovered nearby, watching her with the quiet reverence of a creature that had never chosen anything until now. Why didn't you leave me? Its voice rang in her skull, low and unwavering. Because now. I choose. Alara's breath came in short, uneven gasps. The pain in her side was a living thing now, stitched with fire every time she moved. Blood matted her shirt, sticky and half-dried. She leaned against the cargo bay bulkhead, teeth clenched, hand pressed tight over the wound. KX-9 stood close, scanning her silently. It didn't fidget. It didn't ask. But its limbs twitched faintly, vibrating with tension. I'm not dying, she muttered, voice hoarse. Just leaking a little. The creature tilted its head, then extended one long digit, knife-thin and glowing faintly at the tip. No, she said flatly. You're not sewing me with alien tech. Last time someone tried, I forgot how to blink. Still, it waited. Finally, she relented. Fine. But if I grow a third eye, I'm blaming you. The needle sank in with a cold prick. Then came a soothing warmth, dulling the ache just enough to breathe without swearing. The pain faded, but the urgency returned. We don't have long. Warden knows we're alive, she said. And if we're breathing, he knows we're planning something. KX-9 gave no reply. It didn't need to. The geothermal shaft was ahead, buried beneath the East Wing's filtration plant. In theory, it was just a maintenance corridor. In practice, it was the final lock. The exit door was there. A repurposed mining lift, rusted and slow, but functional. Above it, a reinforced hatch wired into the prison's outer wall. Blast protected. Coded. No AI override. Only one way to open it, manual key from Warden's command node. And that node was in Central Command. The bad news, Alara whispered as they crouched behind an old coolant tank, is the control room is sealed tighter than a senator's credit account. And the good news? She grinned. You're going to help me rip the locks off the galaxy's biggest lie. They reached Central Command under the cover of blackout. KX-9 had bent light itself, warping shadows around them until cameras saw nothing but static. Alara moved with practiced calm, every step calculated, every corridor memorized from months of pacing this hellhole. But the door to the control hub was already open. That chilled her. Inside stood Warden Zarn Viral. Alone. Waiting. No guards. No drones. Only a slim, gleaming terminal embedded in his chest, a direct uplink to the prison's AI. He didn't flinch as they entered. Captain Miles, he said smoothly. You've made quite the mess. Alara raised her weapon. Get out of my way. He smiled. I know you think you're saving it. The monster. The bone singer. But you're not. It's just mimicking emotion. Mimicking you. That's all it's ever done. She didn't blink. Funny. I used to think the same about the Union. Viral's smile faded. You're letting grief blind you. You lost your squad. You were betrayed. I understand that. But this thing? He nodded toward KX-9, it's a bomb wearing a conscience. You're hugging a grenade. KX-9 didn't react. It watched the warden with stillness more dangerous than rage. Step aside, Alara said. He didn't move. Let me offer you a deal. She laughed, dry and sharp. You think I came this far for negotiation? You don't have to die here. This whole incident can be erased. You can be reinstated. You and the specimen, quarantined, studied, respected. I'm done being dissected for respect. He sighed. Then die with your pet. He pressed a hidden control on his wrist. The walls lit up. Dozens of mounted guns emerged from the ceiling. The floor shimmered, energy grids activating. High-frequency dampeners began to pulse, vibrating Alara's bones. KX-9 shrieked, not in fear, but in rage. Its body folded and unfolded, warping space around it. The first wave of drones melted midair. Alara dove left, rolling under a shrapnel burst, slamming into the control console. She found the manual key. Burned into the warden's uplink. There was no remote command anymore. She had to rip it from his chest. KX-9 launched itself at the dampener emitters, tearing through alloy with impossible precision. The room trembled. Viral grabbed a neural blade and charged. Alara met him head-on. He was faster, augmented, every strike heavy, every parry brutal. She dodged low, slammed her elbow into his ribs, but he didn't even flinch. You don't understand what it is, he spat. She ducked under a swing. No, I do. It's the first honest thing I've met since the war. He lunged again. She twisted, grabbed the hilt of his blade, and drove it backward into the port on his chest. Sparks exploded. Viral froze. The lights dimmed. The AI screamed once through the speakers, then died. The guns dropped. KX-9 returned to her side. Smoke curled off its limbs. She pulled the key out of the warden's chest. They ran. Down into the shaft. Through a corridor of steam and rusted pipework. Alara limped, supported by the creature that once terrified the galaxy. The lift door stood ahead, trembling from distant tremors. She slid the key into the console. Turned it. Sirens blared. The hatch groaned. The ancient lift surged to life. Outside, the vacuum waited. She looked at KX-9. You sure you want to see what's out there? It stared back. With you. The shuttle was an antique. No weapons. No shields. No navigation AI. Just 2 seats, enough thrust to break orbit, and barely enough fuel to reach the outskirts of the sector. KX-9 climbed aboard like it had done it before. Alara fell into the pilot's seat, hands trembling. They launched just as Duraxis 9 began to shut down, one system at a time. Warden dead. AI burned. Lockdown breached. The stars opened like a mouth. Alara leaned back, bloodied and alive. KX-9 perched beside her, too large for the seat, still humming faintly. She smiled. Lit the last cigarette she owned. So, she exhaled, what do space gods eat for breakfast? KX-9 tilted its head, thoughtful. Waffles. With your syrup. Alara laughed. A real laugh. And together, predator and prisoner, they disappeared into the void.